move. And today we'll be speaking with Asonye David, a forward-thinking entrepreneur. Now I had to pause there because I don't know if I got the name right, did I?
We can just go with that.
Asonye, but that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Okay, so he is a forward-thinking entrepreneur and founder of the Cheap Market Deal, a growing, and I don't think you're growing at the moment, an agribusiness platform providing crucial services across the agricultural value chain, from inputs, supplies to sales and processing. We are in a time at the moment when food security, self-sufficiency, and global trade are top priorities. And his model is not just supporting farmers locally, but also holding potentials for Nigeria's emergence as a strong player in agricultural exports. As the global demand for African produce increases, how can Nigeria maximize efficient, innovative, and all the opportunities and value-added exports? Well, that's what we'll be discussing and exploring in our conversation today. I have to thank you again for being part of this. Asonye, I'm getting it right. Yeah. I'm a law actually. So thank you again. So my first question will be looking at the landscape, the agricultural landscape. What inspired you to start Cheap Market Deal, and how would you describe its core services in the agricultural value chain, knowing very well that agriculture has been for a while now the sector young people don't want to dabble in. So why did you decide to go in there?
Very simple. I grew up in a community where I keep telling people I grew up like in a background where I experienced hunger as a child, and so what really pushed me to do it was I didn't want any other person to experience hunger. And I watched some of people, and there's a statement that says, he that controls your stomach controls you.
Oh, yeah.
And so growing up with farmers, I understood power at a very young age. So basically, a farmer is a powerful person. I give you an instance. There was a time Farmers Union went on strike. The governor came by himself into the bush to talk to us.
Absolutely.
So then the then governor came to the bush to talk to us.
He must not be hungry. Because it will affect everyone.
Yes, so with his escort and everything, he came to the bush then to talk to us. There's a time again, they've been robbing, kidnapping in that area. Then one day it happens in our own community. The maize price went off. The senator came and was talking to us in Kaduna then. So many years ago he came, I was a small boy, I saw them. So yeah, that's what really pushed me into it, to do this thing and ensure food security for everyone. Then it wasn't really about food security. I didn't understand it as food security then. It was overline, I understood it as food security. What do we do at Cheap Market Deal? Basically, everything about agriculture. Over the years, we've pivoted or we've moved from one phase to another. When we started with input supply. We are selling fertilizers then because a lot of farmers couldn't get access to fertilizers. Provide funding for fertilizers. From there, we started with training and a whole lot of things. And now we are moving into processing. We are processing. We have a facility in Delta State. Don't ask me why I chose Delta State. I know that's what they were. Yeah, everybody kept asking, why did you choose Delta State? Then two, we have another one we are trying to set up. We had one we are trying to wear a certain setup in Jos. Don't ask me why we abandoned it. The Medigri and Abuja, but Delta is fully operational now, and this is just what we are doing. And gradually, we are looking at moving into a lot of things now.
Wow, that's very exciting. The work that you do around agriculture. But is there a reason why you're avoiding the question Delta State? Because it piqued my interest. Of all the states in the world, I would say maybe. Well, let me not start picking states here. But however, why Delta State?
If you want me to answer, I'm not a politician, so I'm a farmer. I'm going to answer you directly. I'm not going to answer you politically.
No, I appreciate that.
The reality is you do business where you have political leverage.
Okay.
And looking at factors. Ideally, it could have been Borno State, Plateau State, or even FCT. In fact, we started with FCT. We wanted where it was in December. We said we're not going to set up in FCT. We moved to Delta. The reason is there are a lot of, when you study a lot of things, and as of then, Delta was the most safest at that point. In terms of, in Delta, I could move by 1 a.m., particularly in Asaba, if not just recent pocket of cult killings here and there. And so those were factors we looked at. Then to the raw materials again, you're going to process. So most times when people look at agriculture, they always look at only the north. They forget that there are things from the south. So we are trying to set up 2 factories. one processing things from the north and the other one processing things from the south. And so Asaba is central to every of these southeastern states. If you're not looking at Delta, you're looking at Aba. And so looking at the cost of production and looking at Delta, we already had facilities in Delta. That's another thing again. You understand? That's why we just went with Delta. You understand?
Okay.
Cost of setup, Delta was cheaper for us
Cheaper.
at that point. Not the north was you buy property.
I mean, you're more political than you give yourself credit for. But let's get into the export deal. I mean, there's no need going into the benefit of exporting, especially for our economy, for the GDP, and how to strengthen what we need to do to strengthen our currency. Now, Nigeria has a huge agricultural potential, but we still lag behind when it comes to export volume and quantity. So what are the barriers that people like you in agribusiness face in exporting?
There are two just major factors that we face.
Just two?
Two major factors. I can summarize both of them into two major factors.
Okay.
We have the problem of infrastructure. Then we have the problem of knowledge. The thing is, if you compare Nigeria and East Africa has been able to break the problem of knowledge. You understand? To an extent, infrastructure. I give an example, Kenya and Rwanda. I know some guys that export live flowers from Kenya without having to do through cementers. Every Thursdays and Tuesdays. He will tell you that he does it every Thursdays. In fact, I've bought live flowers from him. He put it on KQ. Kenyan Airways.
Right, and it comes here.
Yeah, by 12:01, maximum 3 o'clock in the afternoon is in Nigeria, except maybe bad weather, or there was a time that the runway in Abuja was blocked. They went to Ghana, but by 6 in the evening, it was still here. So
that's how seamless it is
to do it.
Wow. So
the problem of knowledge is a lot of farmers are not informed in terms of standardization. You understand? So for you to export, it needs to be standard. There are standards you follow, global standards you follow. And so some farmers don't know. For example, when they take some agricultural products from Nigeria, take it to the lab, you see that there's high level of chemical residue, percentage of chemical residue. So those things are, you're supposed to be informed that, oh, if you're applying fertilizer on a maize farm, wait 3 weeks before you harvest. Some farmers apply fertilizer today, in a week time, for vegetables particularly, they harvest it. It's wrong. You understand? There's soil preparation. Those are informations that are not there. How to package for export. So farmers don't even know how to pack their product for export. You understand? So those things are information problem. Now the part of infrastructure is seamlessness in transporting these things out of Nigeria. For example, if farmer in Gombe wants to send a bag of beans now to Canada, for example, there is no international airport in Gombe or in Northeast yet that can go to Canada. The ones we have that go, the ones is maybe Adamawa, the one in Adamawa that goes to Saudi Arabia and Middle East, and others, more maybe Egypt and the rest. The one in Borno they are building currently. But aside from that, there is no major international airport. Everything must either go through Kano, Abuja, Lagos, Enugu. These 4 airports, or Port Harcourt, these 5 airports. And so these things are putting a lot of stress on the infrastructure. If have you ever been to the cargo wing of an airport, you see that there are a lot of cargoes that they are trying to move. And before you know, maybe you're sending flowers. Before it gets to the guy in London, because of the way they've handled it. You understand? So sometimes there's excessive luggage. You know, many times that sometimes we want to send something from Jos here to Lagos. They'll cancel the flight because there's excessive luggage. So you see that there's lack of infrastructures to even seamlessly handle this thing. The trains are not working, so it's even discourages. And that's why you see private sector players that are in the export business, they charge an arm and a leg to do these things, provide this service, because there's lack of infrastructures to move this thing. And that's something things are limited. They, we cannot move certain perishables for you. You have to probably do this thing before we can move it for you. You understand? So that's just the major problem we are having. Infrastructure and knowledge. If these both things are fixed together, you can just classify them, then every other thing is seamless for everybody. Wow,
that's very sad. Have you wondered why the private sector has not come in here to bridge this gap that you just mentioned? Is it expensive? Is there environmental or business environment? That's what I mean. Challenges or regulatory challenges? Because we see the private sector coming in oil and gas, for instance. So money is not the problem in Nigeria. I do not believe that people do not have money. People have a lot of money. But why have we not seen private sector say, you know what, there's too much cargo. Let's have let's bridge that gap.
So the thing is, right? It's not there are no private sector players. There are, but it's not. See, let's not sound political here. They are not. They are, but it's only for a limited. Like there's only to a limit private sector players can do. For example, they export sesame from Nigeria. Right. They export hibiscus from Nigeria. They export groundnut. Groundnut. They export maize from Nigeria and other agricultural commodities. But the thing again is, for you to do that, you have to look at volume of trade coming from. There are a lot of factors that why private sector will not play very well in that area. For example, now it boils down to infrastructure. Let's say I'm a private sector player, and I want to start setting. I want to set up, let's say, an export processing center that does that helps with processing, let's say, cassava. The maximum I can set up collection point is in probably parts of Taraba, Nasarawa, FCT, Kogi, and this. I won't go set up in Gombe. They don't do cassava there. So you see that's basic infrastructure and do all these things are not there. Now another again there why private sector guys are not playing is based on interest. A lot of them are setting up maybe to take cocoa, southwest, to take rubber, south, to take maybe a lot of things, maize, northwest. So cashew, southwest, part of north central, you understand? So but someone to come and set up infrastructure to export flour, rose. You can't tell a private individual where to invest his money in. It's his money.
That's true.
It's the government that will invest there. It's not the private individual. So it still boils down largely to the government to... You see, when you go towards Kuala now, because we're in the FCT, you see a lot of trailers. Those guys spend maybe 3 days on the road before they get to Lagos, or 4 days before they get to the Apapa seaport where they offload these things to the Chinese or the Indian or whoever is buying. You understand? Roads will not stay for
that long in those conditions as well.
It's not,
but if you have to prioritize, like for people who are listening to you and saying, oh, we would like to get into this business, how can we do that? What are those products, agricultural products you say Nigeria should prioritize and so that we would benefit solely? So we are not all over the place. We are known for Kenya, is known for coffee. You know that Nigeria is known for this product.
Okay, so I will have to differ with you there because I don't believe in doing one thing.
Okay.
I believe there's money in everything. You see, let me give you an instance. I used to sell chicken shit, chicken waste. Chicken cow poultry waste.
Right.
Yes, don't polish the English. Let's chicken the chicken waste. Right. Fowl shit. I used to sell it. Then I used to sell it. I would sell up to 3-5 million naira from chicken waste. That's of 4 years ago. You understand? So there's nothing that is.
So what do? You go to poultry farms and you
gather it and sell it. That's a big money. People don't know. Then I used to sell it back 1,000.
Please, who needs it? Who are the
farmers? People buy it. These large-scale farmers. If you go to
as organic fertilizers
and soil preparation, if you go to Yobe, between Bauchi and Yobe State, Sade, Derazo, before you get to Potiskum, look at your left and right. Now those guys, they are putting chicken waste, cow dung on the ground. They will leave it there for like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they come and till the soil. So it helps to balance the soil. So those things are not. There's nothing.
I have a fish pond, and I know a lot of people who come to the waste, the water,
and those kind of things. So there's nothing that is a waste in this thing. But however, because of for the sake of your question, which I'm very finding difficult, you need to understand that agriculture is basically divided into 2 or 3. The crops, there's what they call cash crops, things that are majorly for industries, and there are things that are everyday use. So for me to answer that now, you have to look at it from that angle. For example, now we know Nigeria used to be one of the major beans exporters those days.
Right.
Before issues came up, you understand? So beans will give you what you're looking for. That's if you're looking at everyday commodities now, you understand? Beans, cassava is dual use for both everyday and industrial use. So, and a lot of things, but instead of just we exporting raw materials, this is where I come in. We should look at setting up processing facilities that process these raw materials, even from the primary stage to a secondary stage, then we can export byproducts. For example, let's use cassava. You know cassava could be used to make flour, feed, and ethanol. From just one cassava and a whole lot of things. I have a friend that even used cassava leaves for soup. In fact, I used to eat it.
I'm from Cross River State. I know. It's my people also.
So you see that thing like cassava now, even rice bran, You understand those kind of things. You understand those kind of things. So if we say we are not going to export, we are just going to export. You see, we are losing critical. You understand? Small, we call it small change we'll make. The main thing is cassava, but we can make small change from the stem. We can make small change from the leaves. We get hair and those back. And so those are ethanol. So that's just it. So I don't really believe in everything export.
Right.
Because one of the advantage of export is FX.
Of course.
You understand? It's not bad, but if you sell only raw material, you won't really make the much FX. Sell the finished product and make plenty of money from it.
I mean, we Nigerians have trust issues when it comes to processing and patronizing our finished products. But you won't also blame them, because we've had instances where there are quality problems, right? How can we improve that as well, so that we will get the trust of the international community? I'm talking about, we never even chop our own. If you go to Nigerians in stores these days, you see us gravitating towards foreign products. And if you ask any Nigerian, without thought, he will tell you, I can be assured of the quality. Sometimes it's not even the case, but because you have it in your head that it's coming from a foreign land, there are processes, clinical trials, and proper standards that must have gone into it. How can we breach that and even advocate for patronizing our own before we now convince the world that we can export and they can have it too?
So to solve that problem, it's a two-edged sword. Largely the side of the government and the side of the private institution. How do I explain it to you? The government has to be firm. So there's a lot of, I don't want to.
There's
a lot of. So there's a lot of personal interest in certain enforcement. So how do I put it now? If a government should come up now and say, every poultry feed or broiler that does not meet so and so, one will wake up and say, he's killing off our businesses because he has a poultry farm. Do you understand? Or any egg that does not meet so and so, they'll say, he's killing off our businesses because he doesn't have.
Well, health should supersede everything.
So they need a firm leader to put his leg on ground and say, I will believe that our president is capable of doing that. But that's the first side of the government. Now the second side of the government, of the individual, is enforcement. So earlier this year, there was a trend of where people were buying, is it earlier this year or late last year, fake things, we were going to stores and rest. Then I said something that, I don't know if it's in existence, but I said something that you as a major manufacturer, because I've also been a victim of people pirating my brand.
Oh, wow.
So I've also been a victim. So I came up this morning, and I came up that, and I said, I was telling a friend, I told him something that, is the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria that are lagging behind.
Not a standard organization of Nigeria.
Not only them. See, you have to fight first before someone will help you to fight.
Okay.
You have an association that are manufacturers. Do you understand? Even in some countries I've been to, they have it. They bring up a certain percentage, even if it's just maybe 0.5 or 0.01% of your profit, and set up a fund. Do you understand? Now that fund will help probably a task force, do you understand? A surveillance task force that will be compensated by SON, police, and all the relevant security agencies, right? And what your job is to do is always go around inspecting facilities, always go around. Because I can't set up a factory with 200 billion
and
naira
then let it go.
And let it go like that.
No, so allow some pirates.
No, it can't be possible. So I have to, if I'm setting up 200 billion and my factory is giving me 20 billion daily, monthly rather, I don't see a reason why I cannot bring out 20 million naira.
Or sometimes even less.
Less, or even 10 million naira, like a pool fund, like what we have the National Social Insurance Trust Fund. Something like that. And put like pool fund. If there are like 1,000 factories that are bringing up, let's say, 20 million naira, or even 1 million naira, you understand? I will set up a task force. This task force does like surveillance. Do you understand? You go, you observe, you understand, you trace. When you see a product that is not originally your own, you go from stores to stores, market unions, they do have these things.
Exactly.
You go there and say, okay, where did you get this thing? You have to you have to trace it. It's not all about going to arrest and snap pictures that you are doing. Intelligence. You go and see who is pirating, then trial them to the full extent of the law. That's the side of the private individual. Then too, it also comes from the consumer. We can all shout about standardization, but we all know that standardization is not cheap. Do you understand? Because that's when the consumer will tell, it's expensive, we are suffering, we cannot buy. But you also have to fix like, okay, if you're saying standardization, because you can't, fake things are cheap.
That's why they are fake.
That's why they are fake. But the reality is the average Nigerian is looking at his pocket. Do I have money to buy? It's not the one, but it's not looking at the long-term effect. So we need to sensitize Nigerians and say this thing has long. Look at there's a rise in kidney failure, and that's why I give it to NAFDAC. That's why NAFDAC this year stood up and said enough is enough. Do you understand? Because a lot of adulterated drinks. How can you be the major importer of drink in Nigeria? You suffered, you went to Spain or France to get the license to export it in West Africa. And someone will sit behind a 6x6 shop and pirate it for you.
In the most unhygienic
environment. Are you keeping the person quiet? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's basically, you have to defend your interest.
Exactly.
So the government, because the truth is, again, is the government is underfunded. Let's tell ourselves the truth. And understaffed. There are a lot of industries standing up. And finally, there should be no focus on revenue. They should focus on standard, because we've seen some government agencies, earlier this year they said they were going to defund some government agencies that they were not generating revenue. These are agencies that are there for compliance and standardization. They're not there to generate revenue for you. So when you try to focus on making money over standard, then you have issues.
Exactly.
So the government is underfunded. How many, even SON, Standard Organization Nigeria, and even NAFDAC, how many staffs do they have that can carry surveillance in one area council self? Not talk more of the whole of FCT. And before you not on that, it's not possible. So
you're right about that. But let's get to, I know you do a lot. I rather researched you a bit and saw that you work a lot with smallholder farmers. How has that been, you being a big player? I know you're trying to be very modest, but it is what it is. So you being a big player, you work with smallholder farmers. How do you get everyone on board to give you the quality that you want? Has it been a challenge too?
Yes, it's been a very big challenge. In fact, because of course you have to be very clear with people so that someone doesn't come and wake up and tell you, oh David, you did this to me. We've had challenges because what we normally do before was, if we've trained you, let's say you farm on our network, we've trained you, the customer comes to us and say, okay, we want to buy one tray of, okay, let's say one basket of tomato. I just call you and say, send one basket of tomato, put the client's details, the client goes to pick up. Do you understand? So we've had a situation of these farmers putting in not standard stuff. And so one thing is that no matter the money, for example, I have like 17 farmers in Plateau State we no longer work with. We've given them money, but they give us quality A. They'll give you quality A mixed with quality C. And so, let it go. Do you understand? So, it's a lot of problem. We have a problem of insecurity, problem of funding. Remember, I'm private funded.
Exactly.
I'm not a government.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Every money counts.
No, every 1 naira counts. So I need to explain how I'm able to burn 100 million naira in a year to my people. So, every 1 naira counts. So, at the end of the day, it still boils down to I can only do the limit of which I can do and focus on things that gives me less headache. For example, we are pivoting from perishables, direct perishables now. We're already beginning to withdraw ourselves from it. Because there are a lot of headaches. The farmer can give you quality products, but on the way between maybe just to Abuja,
there are no proper mobile vehicles. Yeah.
And so these are things. So at the end of the day, just look at that's why I say perishables are expensive. So there are a lot of things in this thing. However, we can only do what we can do, which is provide funding, train to who wants to listen. Because no matter how you like, put a microphone inside someone's ear and tell the person.
This is how it's supposed to be. If he wants not to listen, he will not listen.
And again, before you cut me, there's another thing again you need to understand. Every product you produce has a market for it. If like
everything.
Produce substandard. There are those that will tell you, I want it cheap.
That's the one I want.
They want to go and make big money on it. And so that's why it boils down to people, can you afford that? Everything, see, quality comes at a cost. Are you willing to pay the cost of quality? If you cannot, go for non-quality.
Go for non-quality. I like that.
Well,
we've been discussing with, I don't want to murder your name, but I'll try. Asonye. Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Asonye David, who is the founder at Cheap Market Deal. We've been talking about enhancing export in Nigeria to get it better. But it's time to now have him advise the Nigerian young people who want to try agriculture, who want to try export. And like when we're having that conversation back the other day, I was saying, what are the value chains? I don't want to get my hands dirty. I don't want to farm and I don't want to be too involved. But what are the value chains around agriculture for young people who are like, I like the soft life? What is the soft life in the value chain?
So for you to get into agriculture, yes, you must not be a farmer. You understand? A lot of times, so earlier, 4 years ago, someone was like, I want to invest in you. Because people have unrealistic expectation. I want to give you 200 million.
And
then you give me,
in 6 months.
In 6 months, you give me.
When you are not a Ponzi scheme.
That's why a lot of people get their hands burnt. And so it's even the money market, Nigerian economic market projection, interest rate is how much. Why should I pay you more than? You understand? Earlier this year, I was looking for funding too, because I was building the factory and I ran out of cash. And I was looking for funding from people I knew to give. I was trying to raise 190 million naira from people I knew. And one was like, how much are you going to give me? I said, I'll give you based on the interest rates in Nigeria. I was like, no, if you can't give me 70%. One wasn't telling me so and so for 10 years. I said, that's for your money. But the thing there is, aside from farming, there is trading. There's even knowledge. Get yourself so informed, you become a consultant in this space. There's export directly, and export is two-sided. People just think it's only moving. So export and import, you understand? So a whole lot of things are there. I used to import fertilizers into Nigeria.
Wow.
You understand? So a whole lot of things are there. So export, processing, value chain, so the whole value chain addition, byproducts, what is going green, how can you bring in sustainable repackaging models, packaging models, how can you do a lot of things, marketing, what's it called? What's this called? Logistics, cold chain logistics, which is a big problem in Nigeria.
So that's value you can bring.
Storage facilities, you understand? Silos and so many things, private storage facilities and the rest of it. If I tell you that warehousing, it's a big problem.
Okay, so we really have run out of time. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I know you're leaving Abuja soon, but we'll try to track you, even if it's going to be virtual. Thank you so much for the insight you have.
I'm available this evening. I told you I'm
yes. Thank you. We've been discussing with Asonye David. Why do you laugh?
You're trying to pronounce it, but you're pronouncing it better. Okay. You're pronouncing it.
Asonye David, the founder, Cheap Market Deal. This is where we end today's interview. But remember that By Day is coming up next with Sustainability Pulse, where, like you always know, you get to learn about sustainability, climate change, environmental adaptability, and all that you can think of. We'll be back after that. So stay with us and enjoy.